Hello everyone! So it's time for another ScrawlrBox, and wow, I'm so relieved that I finally caught up with all the ScrawlrBoxes. I'm back on track again. So for you who don't know, ScrawlrBox is a monthly art supply subscription box that brings delicious art supplies directly to your mailbox or door. I will leave a link below where you can sign up for a subscription yourself if you want to. So the supplies comes nicely wrapped in this tissue paper, and we have a sticker and a list of all the supplies in the box. I kinda wish that they actually typed out the retail prices of the supplies. I think it would be very interesting to see what all the things cost. So let's take a look at the featured artist of this box. It is a big bird, an eagle or hawk or something. I'm not very good with the birds. Made by Lisa Clow, and I hope I pronounced that right. We have 3 sheets of paper, a tiny little metal pencil sharpener, and I might actually have hundreds of these now. An eraser in this X shape that is quite unique. And some candy. Then we have a little box with 6 fine art pencils, which I don't think I've heard of before. These are apparently like tinted graphite pencils, and you can dissolve them with water like watercolor pencils. So this will be very interesting. And it is funny, even if I've come across super many different types of art mediums through these boxes, ScrawlrBox can still surprise me with new things I haven't seen before. Then lastly we have a plastic pencil case that you can open in 2 different ways. Pencil cases are always nice to have, and this is the first one I've got in a ScrawlrBox, I think. We also have the Scrawler Challenge. They give you a word or a phrase and you can draw that with the supplies in the box, and this box prompt is "Take flight." Also, this is super helpful. They now have the month written on the supply card. So this is April 2018, and this is the most recent box that I've got. I usually go and check the box and the month on their website in case I get confused, but now it will be much easier for me to keep track on which box is which. So I first wondered what the difference between these tinted graphite pencils and regular color pencils would be. They should be pretty similar, I thought, and yeah, they are, but these pencils do still feel like graphite, but with a little hint of color, a very muted color though, but still. So I can kind of understand the purpose of these if you're doing like a graphite piece and you still want some color, but you don't want to lose the graphite feeling, perhaps. And I really like how vibrant they look when you add water to them, and they seem to dissolve pretty easily too. They also blend and mix very well into each other. So I am very skeptical to erasers. I hate the ones that leaves dust everywhere, but this is apparently supposed to be a dust-free eraser, so let's see how it does. Yeah, it doesn't create a lot of these tiny crumbs, but still a lot of these eraser worms are produced. So let's compare it to my favorite dust-free eraser from Faber-Castell. It also creates some of these eraser worms, but not nearly as much as the ScrawlrBox one. So if you want a good dust-free eraser, I can really recommend this Faber-Castell one. I am not a huge fan of graphite or charcoal products since they usually smudge a lot, but these pencils doesn't smudge at all almost, so thumbs up for that. So I'm actually doing 2 pieces today. I thought it could be fun to try out different techniques and papers for these pencils. Since they're new to me, I want to test them out a little extra. So for this first one, I got a little lazy with the theme Take Flight, and I just made a dragon cat flying through the air. So technically it isn't really taking flight, but oh well, consider it a warm-up piece. I'm using the paper that came with the box. It is quite thin and not really made for watercolors, but as it said on the information card, if you just use a little water it should be fine. So what I did to not have too much water on the paper, and I also really like this technique with watercolor pencils, is that I pick the colors directly from the pencil tip with the paintbrush. This gives a very clean color since the watercolor pencils tend to not dissolve 100%, and they often leave some kind of grainy looking pigments on the paper. Now it looks a little more like regular watercolors. For the background, I drew the pencils directly on the paper and then I added water. I noticed that the colors turns out much dirtier or grayer looking when you draw the pencils on the paper and then add water, compared to when you just pick the pigments directly from the pencil nib. The colors are a little more muted than I usually prefer, but I like the simplicity and the minimalism. That's what I like with these art boxes, that you don't need a ton of art supplies to create something nice. Then lastly, I actually used a supply that wasn't included in this box, but it is from a previous ScrawlrBox, so I think I can get away with that. The Mangaka Brush Pen, and I love this pen. The sea white paintbrushes that I'm using are also from a previous ScrawlrBox. I used the brush pen to outline the dragon cat because it really felt like this piece could need some line work to tie it together, and I really like how it turned out. Then for this second piece, I'm using Fabriano watercolor paper that is much rougher than the previous paper I used, so I thought it could be interesting to see how the pencils looks on it. So I've drawn a person standing by the edge of a cliff and they're ready to jump, and it may seem like a pretty dark scene, but it is actually quite the opposite, and you can read whatever you want into this, but I can promise you that to me it has nothing to do with self-harm or anything like that. So what first popped up in my head when I heard take flight is having the courage to take that step, a leap of faith if you will, to your dreams or your goals, but also the will to put the darkness and negativity and fears behind you and reach for better things like happiness, inner peace, or just a feeling of satisfaction, or whatever it can be. So I love when new things happen and I want new things to happen, but I'm also very anxious about changes because when things changes I am losing my control and I need to have control in some degrees. So it sounds a little contradictory, wanting changes, but changes creates anxiousness, but who said that life is easy? But I can tell you that during these past 5 years or so, I worked away a lot of that anxiety, so it is possible to change and become better. So I felt like life has been standing still lately, nothing has happened, and I really needed something to stir things around. And poof, all of a sudden a lot of things happened, good things, and I needed to make a choice. Either I could just stay on the stagnated but safe and predictable road, or I could take that step and lose my control for a moment but also achieve the things I actually wanted and dreamed of. And yes, I took the step and it was super scary, and it is still a little scary and I'm so tired, but it is also super fun and I'm so happy. So that is what this piece is representing for me, having faith in yourself that you can take the step to achieve your dreams or goals and leaving whatever fears or negativity you have behind you. And it doesn't really have to be big dreams or great fears, it can just be making smaller decisions too, like everyday things that create discomfort or minor anxiety, and having the courage or will to do something about it. It might be scary at first, but the reward is so worth it when conquering your own brain demons and you can finally do whatever you want. I'm not very good at putting words on things, especially not feelings, but I hope you can kind of understand what I'm trying to say here with this piece. Maybe it got a little too deep, but I think that people need to get more in touch with their feelings. I hope you like this piece. I kinda like the texture that the watercolor paper creates, and I think it's nice to see two very different pieces created with the exact same supplies. Let me know which one's your favorite. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks ScrawlrBox for sending me this to play with. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on that little bell icon to get notified every time I post new art and videos, and I will see you next time. Keep drawing, my happy cats. Bye!